The more you think about it and the more you play Darktide, the more you start to realize that the Armoury exchange, the Armoury itself, the true endgame for Warhammer 40k Darktide that I once thought was a joke a few weeks back, but now realize all too well that it actually is the endgame for Warhammer 40k Darktide, is one of the things holding back the game. As egregious and predatory as the microtransactions are, the cosmetic store is something that I'm not fundamentally against. It's just that we purchased the game isn't finished, and yet the game is supposed to launch with more content than it has, but the store was perfectly intact. I realize a separate team worked on it. I hate people that use that excuse. There is no excuse. The game should have came first and a store later. It's, we paid for the game. We paid for a product that should be finished. You wouldn't go to McDonald's, order a Big Mac, they hand you like the bun and say, oh, hold on, mate, you know what? Just take the bun. What about the burger? Well, we'll give you the burger at the end of the month. Well, we might not. There is a high chance that we won't, but you'll get your burger at some point. For some reason with gaming, we're just much more willing to accept it, and I don't really understand why. I mean, I'm as big a part of the problem as anyone else, but Darktide, fundamentally, by design, is flawed heavily. Vermintide 2, upon a mission's completion, you got a minimum of 3 rewards. Now, the quality of those rewards depended on whether you gather collectibles throughout the mission and the mission's difficulty, but at a minimum, you got 3. However, in Darktide, you are lucky if you get anything. And why even bother finishing missions or running higher threat levels for gear? I don't believe it's even worth it, to be honest, whenever you can cultivate and curate far better weapons here in the Armoury exchange. And that's the whole point. The cosmetic store in Darktide isn't the only area of the game that exploits the fear of missing out to get you to do what it wants. The Armoury does it as well. That's why it resets every hour on the hour. The game also has a plugin specifically designed to show you what's currently being sold in the Armoury.
Are you serious?
The Armoury exchange also makes Sire Milk's Requisitorium pretty pointless and obsolete. Why work towards completing some of these difficult weekly contracts for an item that would probably be worse than something that you can buy at a low quality in the Armoury exchange, and then just upgrade via the Plasteel and Diamantine? Some of these do look good, but the time that you need to put in to get them just isn't worth the hassle, honestly. If you're trying to run the Damnation threat level, or even Heresy, then you're running them because you either want to complete penances, or you want easier resource collection and farming. You're not doing it because you're going to get a decent reward out of it. There's not even a high chance that you're going to get a weapon or a curio from it, and even if you do, it might not be too good in the area of the modifiers, the perks, or even the blessings. The sole reason that you can't even craft in Darktide is because it would detract and take away engagement from the Armoury, which overall is bad for the company. They want you spending as much time on the game as possible. There's nothing wrong with having a shop like this available in the game, but the fact that you can't craft or do most of the things that were available in the previous title, and as similar as this game is to Vermintide 2, there are people that say, oh, it shouldn't be compared. Of course they're going to be compared. They're incredibly similar, by the same developer, set in a very similar IP. A crafting system in place in Darktide could actually complement the Armoury quite well. Let's say that every single time you complete a mission in Darktide, you are given a reward, a weapon, or a curio. Now, anything that you earn through playing missions can be dismantled. Armoury stuff can't be. It can only be sold or bartered for these the currency that you use in this game, ordo dockets. But any weapons that you're able to craft or that you get from missions can be dismantled into Diamantine and Plasteel, meaning that you're not shackled to the Armoury exchange to check whatever is on sale every hour. You can still do that if you want, of course, but a second option isn't going to hurt anyone. Whoever designed the Armoury had one thing in mind, and it was player engagement. They wanted players on this as much as possible, and it's pretty obvious. I mean, if you play the game for a few hours, you start to realize that the entire game revolves around the Armoury exchange. Instead of releasing a finished game with even a fraction of the content that was available in Vermintide 2, the game is ramshackle. The bigwigs over at Fatshark chose player engagement over player enjoyment. And if anything can be said about Darktide, it's that it makes me want to go back and play Warhammer Vermintide 2 more than this.